Okay, so let me show you the real stuff. A big idea in programming is you need to manage the complexity of your own code. And one of the major ways of doing that is by breaking it into separate actions that you give names to, and those are methods. So by breaking your code into different methods, now you can think about just how do you write Java to do that one action, and you don't have to think about the rest of your program. So one of the things that, and another advantage is once you've broken your code down into small actions, you can reuse those actions in different places. So once we have the display accounts command, it might be convenient to run that command from other places. So it's sort of like you're building up the Java language yourself by creating new commands that you can then use to create even more complicated commands. All right, so one thing that I'm noticing is the do deposit option and the do withdraw option. All of that code involves this step, which is looping over all the accounts in order to find an account we want. So I don't want to copy, paste, and repeat that code over and over again. So this would be a great time for a method also. I'm going to cut this, and I'm going to show you a method I wish existed. I wish we could say find account with name, where I give it my list of accounts, and I give it the name on the account I'm looking for. And what this method should do is it should loop over every single account in this list and test each one to see, does it have this name? And then if it does, it should return the bank account object that matches the name. So the purpose of this command is just to search through a list and return the value that I want. And if I had that method, that would be really convenient. And you'll also notice that it's kind of simplified how this code looks. So let's write the method. Public static void, and the void is going to change in a minute. And I'll tell you why. But we'll say find account with name. It looks like I'm trying to give it two inputs, which is the account list and the name. So I know the account list is an array list of bank account objects. So I'm going to call it ACCT list for account list. And then string name. All right, so now I'm going to paste my code. When I pasted it, it doesn't know about account list anymore because I named my input variable ACCT list. But that's fine. We'll just change it. Oh, except this is not supposed to be the account list. Sorry. So this was, remember, when we find the account we're looking for, I was saving it into a special variable. Okay, so now instead of saving it into a special variable, it's like once I find the account I'm looking for, that's the answer that I want this command to return. So that's going to become my return statement. Once I find it, I want to return B as the bank account that we're looking for. So since I'm returning something now, this can't be void, because void means you don't return anything. Okay, so what is it that I'm returning? It looks like I'm returning B, and B is a bank account object. So this should be bank account because it tells me the data type for the thing that I'm returning. Okay, so why is it still unhappy here? What happens if we loop through the whole list and the if statement is never true, so we never find a bank account with the name we want? In that case, we haven't returned anything, and we got to the end of the method, but the method is now promising that we're supposed to return something. So I have to decide what I want to do here, and I think what I'll do is I'll return null as a way of indicating we didn't find what we were looking for. Okay, so now we'll come back up here, and the rest of it can be just the same. We'll say, so here I'm saying find account with name. It's going to either return the bank account with the name we want, or it's going to return null, one of those two things. Okay, so I'm going to say if my account equals null, then print there's no account with that name. I think else statements are ugly, so I'm going to get rid of this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, right in here, I'm going to say return with a semicolon. I did not tell you yet that you can do this, because this is a void method, which means that it doesn't return anything. And normally, after return, you would have the value that you're returning. But you're still allowed to say return inside a method that returns nothing, that's void, because I don't have a value after return. I just have a semicolon. So what this statement does is this is like saying exit my method immediately. So what we're doing so far is we display the list of accounts. We have them type the account they want. We run this other command that we wrote, which searches for the account we want. We say if the account equals null, then that means we didn't find it. So we'll tell them we didn't find it, and we'll exit right away. And so if we didn't exit, then we know that this one must contain a value because it's not null. And so now we'll go ahead and we'll return. We'll ask them how much to deposit and the PIN and all the rest of it. Okay, so that's the pattern, and that makes the rest of this like a lot easier to write. So I didn't actually write the other ones yet. Where is it? Do deposit option. So let's like do withdraw option. And I'm going to give it a user input, a user scanner, and an account list because I know already I'll need those things. Let me show you another trick. You can hit here and then hit Alt-Enter, and it'll create the method for you. And I'm just hitting Enter here to accept all the default options. And so now I'm going to display, and so then I just pasted the copy of the code that I made from the deposit method. So I'm going to display the list of account names. Type the name of the account you want here. This is the same. I still want to find the account. There's no account with that name. So all that's the same, except now here's the unique action. How much do you want to deposit? Except now I want to say withdraw. And then PIN, and then withdraw. Okay, cool. So that was pretty good. All right, I think that's maybe all I wanted to show you for the moment. Is that true? Yeah, probably. Okay, anyway, one more thing. So you'll learn next year that these are called magic numbers. They're magic because if I didn't have these comments here, you would have no way of knowing, like, what does it mean if the user chose 1? Like, what action is that? You would have to kind of scroll around until you eventually found the menu, and that you'd say, oh, 1 means display all account names. But it makes, if you're another programmer, it makes the code hard to read because you're confronted with all these mysteries, like what is 1 and what is 2. So a better thing to do is instead of saying 0, let's create a named variable. Create account action. So if the user choice was the create account action, then we'll create a new account. Okay, so usually what you do, so I made these all capital because this is a constant. It's going to be a variable that's an int. But it's a variable whose value is never supposed to change because the only reason we're making this is so that we can read the name and know what it means. So for constants, you usually create those up at the very top. So public, static, what's this, an int, and I'm going to call it create account action, and it's supposed to be 0. So now I've made it. There's another special word called final, which means that the value of this variable is never going to change. And if I try and change it, it will be an error. It will be a compile time error. So that's what marking it final means. So that's kind of the last thing to make your code really professional is you give named values to everything. So display accounts action. And again, you can auto create these by hitting Alt-Enter, and it says create constant field. And that's what I want to do. And you see it's already done the private static final int. And now I can call that 1 and then hit enter. It made them private. It doesn't matter for this program whether they're public or private. Either way is fine. So it might seem like a lot of typing, but it's actually a lot less typing if you let the editor do it for you. So what's this one? This is deposit action. Alt-Enter, enter, enter, to enter. So that wasn't a lot of typing. Okay, cool. I hope this was helpful.